welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Dev and I'm the Associate Marketing Manager of Big Innovation Center India. Today we are presenting a webinar on blockchain and digital identity, possibilities and illustrations. Just a little housekeeping before we get started with our session. If you have any questions during the webinar, then please type your questions in your question box of GoToWebinar control panel, and we would be taking them after our webinar. And also we have dedicated time allotted for a Q&A session. So please type in your questions in your question box and we shall get back with the answers. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce our moderator and expert speaker for today's session. We have Mr. Subburai Yanti, popularly known as Mr. J. He is a thought leader who has assisted companies to reach new horizon, and he is also acting as a mentor for BIC India. He has been involved in rapidly evolving innovative technology sectors, and his focus on ideas that affect new age societal and sustainability challenges to be solved with innovative entrepreneurial responses to them. Mr. Jay is in corporate innovation, emerging technologies, disruptive innovation, new digital business model, digital transformation. Mr. Jay is also the founder and CEO of Growth Grid Advisory and Consulting, which nurtures startups and supports established corporate organizations in the innovative technology sector in India and Australia New Zealand region. We welcome you, Mr. Jay. Moving forward to our speaker, we have a speaker from IBM India, Mr. Anuj Kumar Garg, who is an innovation and blockchain leader. Mr. Anuj is a visionary IT leader and blockchain evangelist working on leading technologies for the past 19 years. He has vast experience in IT solutions, design and development, service delivery, process to engineering, account management, transformation, client management, etc. His achievement includes building Japan IoT in India from scratch and achieving 400 plus FTE live in a short time. Mr. Anuj has a keen interest in blockchain technology and is an IBM certified blockchain consultant. He has successfully designed several blockchain applications on Hyperledger and Ethereum platforms. He is also a blockchain coach and trained hundreds of technology professionals in this revolutionary technology. He is currently working on developing an end-to-end blockchain-based technology in the medical domain and education sector. We welcome you, Mr. Anuj. Our third speaker is Mr. Kamlesh. Mr. Kamlesh is CTO in blockchain from Snapper Technology. Mr. Kamlesh is having with 11 years of experience in software development, IT consulting, in supply chain management, trade finance, telecom bidding, travel and transportation solutions, and additional 5 years of experience in blockchain and Hyperledger technologies. He is a co-leader of Hyperledger India chapter and as an active contributor in Hyperledger Healthcare Telecom SIG Identity Working Group, Education and Climate Action Group, Hyperledger Community. Mr. Kamlesh also provides consultancy services on blockchain projects and also corporate to build blockchain capabilities. We have our last speaker, last but not least, Mr. Fernando is a strategic leader of all parliamentary group on blockchain and blockchain for government council. He possesses 12 years of experience in project management and technology application planning. He holds a master's in logistics and supply chain and Cranfield University and master engineering in civil engineering from Alfonso El Sabio University. B engineering civil construction at Salamka University, executive education from IES Business School, and is certified as Prince 2 practitioner. We are glad to have all of you amongst us today, and we hope our audience gets like immense knowledge on the subject. And we now the place to Mr. Jay, who is our moderator of the day.
Thank you, Dev. Thank you, colleague, experts, and especially my colleague Fernando from Big Innovation Center, UK. And I welcome all the participants who have shown quite a lot of enthusiasm in the topic today that we have chosen in our blockchain series, monthly series of webinars. I think today's topic is more relevant and appropriate to the current situation. So we thought that our experts and my point of view at this particular juncture of choosing, blockchain and digital identity will be more relevant to discuss. We understand the 1 hour that we have allocated to all of us may not be sufficient enough to cover a complete technology perspective of digital identity and the adaptation of digital identities using blockchain. However, this is an endeavor that we want to really put across to all of you as a beginner to discuss more such tech talks in the forthcoming months. So all of you appreciate and allow us to limit the compression of the time. But we are most welcome to really put across your questions, and we will spend more time on answering your questions through our experts. So without further introductions, as I would like to really, recall that all of us understand blockchain can enable greater trust and transparency through decentralization.
Okay, so I think Jay already sent some context about the blockchain and how the concept of digital identities are relevant in the modern times when most of us are at home, working from home. I think let's set the context and start the discussion. We'd like to start with Mr. Kamlesh. Kamlesh, would you like to throw some light on what exactly the digital identity is, and what value do you think it brings on the table, especially during this pandemic time?
Yeah, sure. So actually, digital identity is a nowadays is a backbone for the every transaction, because when you are transacting on the internet, there is always a trust factor. Whom you are doing a transaction, there is a valid user or not, platform is valid or not. So right now, all this identity management may be maintained by the federated identities like the third-party product like Google, Facebook, such identity provider. And always we heard many kind of news like my identity data is maybe sold to the some third-party customer by my service provider. Every time I need to log into the website, it will ask for the Google authentication or such kind of third-party authentication. So, so in the COVID time, even the COVID time, and due to the digital economy changes, digital trade, everything is happening digitally. People are doing transaction, even the normal chai wala accept the UPI payments and everything. So
Correct.
bringing the trust on those transaction is always as important as you are doing the transaction. So internet always a kind of where you don't know who are doing a transaction, because in the physical world maybe you know the people who are transacting, but in the digital world maybe you don't know the robot is behind, or the some person maybe name of Kamlesh is sitting there and doing the transaction. So
Correct.
bringing the trust on this transaction, digital identity, and especially this decentralized identity, where the you bring the trust and give the access to the customer, so they can manage their identity and their private data. So self-sovereign identity, decentralized identity are the big concept nowadays. And even the different projects like Trust or IP is a project by the Linux Foundation to bring the trust and transparency on the any digital transaction. Even technology governance to tell the governance of the members and the organization, whether you do the healthcare transaction, whether you do the payment transaction, whether you do the social network transaction, you should have your control to your identity, your data. Self-sovereign identity will give the that flexibility where you can prove yourself you are an authentic user and on the authentic platform without exposing to your actual data. So in the COVID time, it's very important to hide your health condition, health data, and still you want to prove you are a COVID vaccine certified, or it may means like you got vaccinated or you have positive certificate without disclosing your actual location, your actual information. So technically, if you relate, for example, in the generally in Western countries, if you want to buy a wine, you need to prove your age, but you don't want to share your actual information. Like in India, if you share your Aadhaar card, you are exposing everything: your name, your location, your date of birth. But this is not the case by the in the Western countries, or I think anywhere in the India now people care. If I just need to prove my age, why should I prove other details? My name, my location, my status, my family income, even. So zero knowledge proof is also the one factor where you could add, you can prove yourself you are a uh, certain age, or you qualify to the particular services without exposing your private data. So all this being implemented on the digital identity and is more focused on the digital economy nowadays.
Yeah, thank you. I think Kamlesh, you gave a very good overview of how digital identity can help in the modern ages. So, Jasser, I think you're back. So back to you.
Good. My digital identity got crashed a bit of because technology people only will have challenges. So thank you, and I thank all the participants also. Apologies from my side. I think it's a glitch which has hung me up. I think, yeah, moving forward, Anuj and Fernando, as Kamlesh has enumerated, I think, please proceed, and then we will take the next steps.
Shall I follow?
Yeah, please.
Yeah,
Sure.
I think following Kamlesh's explanation about digital identity, I have completely agreed what he has said about that we on internet now we are renting our identities. Now, depending on the service, you need to provide certain data points to verify your identity, but it depends on the service, no depends on you, your identity. For example, if it's your bank, you provide some data point. If it's Facebook, if you want to identify yourself with Facebook, you provide another data point. And basically, we don't provide our identity to use the service. We provide, they ask for some data points instead of we provide the identity. So I think digital identity and decentralized digital identity on blockchain is going to be one of the main use cases in the future. No, why is the reason? Why is the reason for that? Because most of the blockchain use cases are based in digital identity. Therefore, digital identity is not an ordinary use case. I think it's a pivotal and crucial in the blockchain development. Digital identity is the foundation of many of these use cases. For example, nowadays, as we are speaking about this pandemic, COVID-19, the remote working and it has been normalized. Now, it's for us completely usual to work remotely, or even to have here in the United Kingdom medical appointments by video conference. This new paradigm is going to be a massive increase in the need of trust in distance. What I mean in trust is distance, you have to trust the person who is another side of the screen is the person that he's working for a company you are having the meeting with, or even he's a doctor. No, how do you know it is a doctor, or how does a doctor know it is the right patient? You can see, we can see a very rapid increase in the need to prove who are digitally, I mean, to prove your digital identity quickly and easily. We are speaking about to prove your credentials, to prove professional credential, educational records, and official credentials. No, all the credential use cases, and that is one of the main applications of blockchain, as health record, educational records, can be considered identity attributes of an individual. That means is an application on the top of the digital identity. So digital identity is the foundation for all these use cases. Digital identity or sovereign identity, distributed digital identity on blockchain will be necessary for education and professional certificates, for medical prescription or medical record, for the control of the pharmaceutical. For example, in several digital identity or self-sovereign identity on blockchain would help in in the fight against COVID-19 and other global pandemics. At the moment, for example, we could see some application to register vaccination certification blockchain, or to register if a person have gone through a COVID-19 or no. All these examples are digital credentials that is in a self-sovereign identity model are under control of individual. That means the data and the identity of the individual is under control of the individual and not from external companies. That means an increase in privacy, improving interoperability between different databases, and also an increase on the control of our data, not from individual. But we know there must not be a digital identity system, or we consider from Big Innovation Center UK that shouldn't be a digital identity system on blockchain where we could centralize all in one company, and all our different identities that we were speaking before, I link it under just one umbrella, because that is not going to protect the most vulnerable people in the society. That is, they have some health records or some criminal records. We cannot have all over under one umbrella. We have to have some caution before implementing digital identity.
Yeah, thank you, Fernando. In fact, I think, as we are discussing about digital identity, I would like to really put across, Anuj, sir, allow me to be an expert for a briefing on my thoughts before we get on to the next question. Yeah, because what I recognize is the current identity management systems, which are happening for the societies all over the world, are basically available to, out of the 7.9 billion population on the Earth, almost all 1.2 billion population doesn't have any physical identity. All of us are so grateful to have first name, second name, date of birth, and identity of a place, location, and everything. But unfortunately, the world is so skewed. 1.2 billion of the population of 7.9 billion population doesn't have a physical identity. I think this raises the urgency for the UN to implement the Sustainable Development Goals. By 2025, they would like to really have 95% of the population on the world need to have some identity. Because as Fernando has mentioned, once if you do not have identity of your own self, then you will be not able to exercise the right of civilized societies to have the right to education, right to healthcare, and right to access to the finance. So that curtails. So this pandemic, in my view, also accelerated the adoption of transparent and immutable records of decentralized data, which can be shared among various participants in a society, so that a cohesive force can emerge. And probably the unfortunate 1.2 billion population and the fortunate also do not know how to control and then retain their data privacy on the internet. All of you recognize that internet has seen 30 years of its adaptation. Now today we are all making use of the medium of internet to transact. Now this pandemic is also accelerated and validated. The technological advancement has facilitated the convenience for the populations across the globe. So definitely, I think now with the acceleration of the pandemic and going post-pandemic scenarios, probably I think most of the governments, societies, and organizations tend to really see how their consumers, who are their customers, and what would be their digital identities and how they can be better managed using the medium of technology. I also recognize in the next pointers how Industry 4.0 is going to change the way that we are operating in the societies. So, Anuj, I would like to have your thoughts on the the first point, so that we can move on to the next question.
So I think the majority of it is already covered by Kamlesh and Fernando. The only thing which I would additionally like to tell is that yes, there is a problem with regards to identity. Yes, the digitalization is not done for majority of the identity. One of the other major problem is that we all have different forms of identity that exist today. Like our identity start from the day from our birth. Like the birth certificate is the first identity document, then the schooling, and then the college, the mark sheets, degrees, and then our employment. And over a period of time we also get some other identities, like the various driving licenses, passport, everything, and other everything, talking from the India perspective. I think one of the major problem that we have is, one, all these identities belong to me, but I don't have any control of on any of these identities.
That's correct.
Control is with someone else. The database lies with the government authority, my college authority, and the municipal authorities, and their databases are not secured. Okay. Firstly, I need the right to my identity. So that is the first thing, is a fundamental right, that I need. Second thing is, even if identity lies with someone else, is it really secured? The answer is no. If you see that the breach is with respect to the data thefts, that happens, or the identity thefts that happen on the yearly basis, it's massive. In terms of billions of dollars we lose year on year, and we see on daily basis our identity is getting compromised. The kind of you daily get the phone calls from different people and all. So our identities are not secure and are compromised on daily basis, which is a major issue. Now, going digital is obviously the first step towards it, and it's not that the government is not making effort. You can see the wallets where you can have your Aadhaar and everything is there, but giving the control to the end user is another aspect of it, and giving it a secured control on a blockchain layer is the ultimate goal of having a digital identity. Because once it is on blockchain, then first of all you control what your identity is. You can share the part of it as and when you wish to do, and whichever, like for example, if you need to basically showcase that you are a passport holder and you have the visa for a particular country, in your digital wallet you can share that information with whatever authority you want. They can stamp the visa and get you can have that as a transaction in your blockchain ledger. And so database which is controlled by you can be shared on the need basis, is what actually represents the digital identity on blockchain. And that gives you the foolproof method of managing your identity, securing your identity, and sharing it on the need basis. And that is what all of us want. Not only with identity, I think the next layer of discussion is also the data that we generate on the internet. Data is also mostly misused and mismanaged by various e-commerce companies and various IT providers. We don't have any control on the data that we generate on internet or on our mobile phones on day-to-day basis. That is also needs to be secured and needs to be incentivized based on whosoever is using it. So that's what I think is the role of digital identities in the future. And that's why I think that it should be on blockchain, because blockchain gives you all those kind of features that are needed to secure your identity database, that are needed to share the information on bill and whatever you want to share. So these are some of the things. And Kamlesh, I think, already mentioned on the decentralized identities, sovereign identities. These are all related concepts together, which should be used in conjunction.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Anuj. So can we have the first poll question there? Yeah. So as we thank you for the poll, and we will see the results soon. Yeah. Oh, okay. So it is a majority of the people do say that collaboration across various sectors of activity in the society will create a new opportunity for new value creation. And emphatically, there is more than 1/3 of the people have said no. It's very interesting. So the reason why we looked at, yes, Dave, thank you. Why we looked at the poll question in that manner, because we all really are experiencing having the digital identities on a secured platform creates trust. I think all of us do agree. Once we have trust on any kind of interactions that we are going to do virtually, will give us confidence and security. As Anuj just said, how do we really manage and then give a kind of assurance to the clients and customers that your data is safe, and what is safe and what is secure, and how we can able to really protect. And then BIC UK to an act participates with the governments to create this kind of infrastructure to have the governance infrastructure. So we do understand this is a very nascent positioning of using a specific technology. Nevertheless, as going forward, as internet given the opportunity, Industry 4.0 is going to give much more maturity of connected devices. Now today we are moving towards a connected world. Now autonomous vehicles, autonomous machines, and machine learning and predictive analytics are going to play a crucial role in understanding the characteristics and the personas of clients, both on the decentralized manner and centralized manner. So in that particular view, we definitely recognize economies and new value creation can happen only when we have consumption. And consumptions are always driven by the consumers of the societies. Okay. So how does the consumer confidence will be reimposed back into the societies in a very secured manner, ensuring the trust as the central core of the activities? I understand probably my colleagues and experts also believe that the 21st century consumer landscape is going to be remarkably different from its 20th century predecessor. I think all of you do agree.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
not least due to the pandemic or the decimated retail sales in stores, which we all have experienced. There are huge pockets of real estate which has been vacant in all over the world, which used to be buzzing with the retail outlets. But the material goods, setting up into a store once is used to be defined as the market. Now that physical stock lying in a store has moved altogether into a different landscape. Probably very soon we will see, with the adaptation of 5G coming into play into the societies, the consumer will have much more power and much more ability to transact furthermore. So when the new technologies of Industry 4.0 driven with the 5G networks coming into play, I feel consumer consumption is going to take it into a new different dimension. As Anuj has said, because of the lapses, there's a report said that in 2020, nearly $850 billion of worth of value is being corroded. Now, going forward with these two technological advancements going to happen, how does the retail consumer activity is going to happen? I think I would like to really see Fernando to start with his observations. Then we will talk about the illustrations of technological opportunity to implement blockchain for the consumer consumption. Yes, Fernando.
Yeah, thank you very much. Could you hear me, Jay?
Yes, very much.
Thank you very much. Completely agree with what you have said about the consumer. I think the consumer sector and the retail sector is going to be one of the most disruptive sectors now with blockchain technology. I think retail and consumer sectors are directly linked to the supply chain management. Blockchain at the moment is basically have two main development. One is in the financial sector and another one is in the supply chain management. On the supply chain management, which is the base of the retail industry. For example, last year, the Gartner technology hypercycle put the blockchain application on the supply chain at the peak of the expectation. Then at the moment, there are many expectations on how blockchain technology is going to disrupt the retail industry. From my point of view, from the Big Innovation Center point of view, we can understand the disruption in the retail sector from 2 points of view. One of them is from the consumer point of view, another one is from the company's point of view, the supply chain point of view. From a consumer point of view, we are seeing in the end customer, we are seeing a change of behavior. I mean, people nowadays, at least here in United Kingdom, is more concerned about the provenance of the products, about the origin of the products. If the products have been manufactured in a right way, for example, the food products have the qualities they mention they have, because now, for example, here in United Kingdom, there are many called ecological or bio products, and these products want to prove the origin and the provenance of the products, and we see an increase in the awareness of the customer to get this provenance. So with that, and the application of blockchain, we will be able, or companies will be able to prove this provenance of this origin of the products to the end customer. As well, when we are speaking about blockchain and the disruption in the retail sector, it's from a point of view of a company point of view, or a supply chain point of view, there are another benefits or another impact is going to happen in the supply chain. The first I've mentioned before is going to be you will be able to trace and get visibility on the whole supply chains. This is going to allow you to get more sustainable supply chains, where you can remove the fake actors or the middlemen from the supply chains. As well, it's going to help the companies to comply with the regulation. For example, in 2015, the UK released a new regulation, which is the Modern Slavery Act, that made the large retailer responsible for the entire supply chain. I mean, since the origin of the product until the end of the product. Blockchain can help to provide this compliance. As well, when we are speaking about recalls in the supply chain, it's going to be much more easy to do a recall of a wrong product than nowadays. It's going to be quicker, easy, and it's going to be really, really specific. And in terms of in a pure retail selling, I mean, in front of a customer, it seems that this behavior I mentioned before of increased awareness of the provenance of the products, it seems there is a niche of the market for premium products. Some customers are going to pay more for premium products. What we call premium products is products you can show the origin and you can show the provenance of the products. This can bring a new income to the retail industry, and as well can put aside this product that cannot show the provenance or cannot show the origin. I think definitely the retail and consumer industry will be impacted for the use of blockchain and other technologies, as you mentioned. I think companies have to act now in terms of there are some small companies or some companies now doing some activity on blockchain and showing the provenance. I think this is going to be full up as companies start to scale up this application. It seems the companies that don't get on board of blockchain or then don't show the provenance of the product is going to fall behind. So definitely it's going to be disrupted by the.
I would like to really have Kamlesh, your point of view on how technically that we could able to really enable our digital identities in transacting not only with the governments, with the corporates, and with the those so-called drivers of the business through platforms or communities can be laid down using the blockchain technology, specifically the use cases that you could able to enumerate. Both of you, I request you, Kamlesh and Anuj, to give the illustrations of more use cases, practical issues that might arise. And this is a new technology, new framework. However, we would like to explore your illustrations. Kamlesh, please.
Yeah. So, like Fernando mentioned, correct, like provenance is the main factor. Nowadays, consumer want to see the provenance of the product they are buying. And if you see the recent reports by the IB Business Value or different research firms, 74% customer want to pay more if they know the origin of the product, and if they know even the product is sustainable or not. For example, so in this segment, consumer, fashion, retail, consumer want to know the traceability of their project. So the track and traceability solution are mostly used in the food traceability, fashion retail, where the consumer want to know the t-shirt or the water bottle or even the consumer goods they are buying, they are sustainable or not. So sustainability use case, food traceability use case, even the product are how much they are saving the carbon footprint. There is also main factor nowadays. When consumer want to know the product they are buying is sustainable. Not even the consumer product, even the enterprise product, like suppose the steel, even the cement, even the consumer want to know the cement they are buying is a sustainable development goals following or not, is how much carbon offset or carbon credit it's saving. So in generally use cases of trust, track and traceabilities, sustainable circular supply chain, circular economy projects, like even the waste management, plastic recycle is many use cases being done to find out the product, how much recycled products are using in this particular product. If the food traceability, it could be the even milk product, even your fruits, even even your consumer goods, like any product, from where, what is the location, and what is the raw material being used, how was the supply chain being followed during that consumer goods received in the consumer retail store. And even the people are buying the car, so even they want to know the battery being used in the car, what is the raw material. Even the in a manufacturer side, even the workers are getting the fair wages or not. Even this is being considered by the consumer nowadays. So these are the typical use cases in the segment where the consumer wants the trust on the products.
Now, okay, Kamlesh, thank you. Anuj, your point of view, and what will be the technological framework that is more, suitably adopted, having the digital identities to be shared among various participants? I understand smart contracts could be the beginning to really have it, but how do we really have the public key, private key, and how the adaptation and implementation of blockchain mechanism can facilitate the consumer consumption transparently happening, Anuj?
Sure, sir. So I think Kamlesh covered a lot many use cases. And I think some of them were related to traceability as well, which is again a very, very key thing, when you talk about the retail consumer thing. But one thing which I also feel very strongly can be a potential use case is how the e-commerce happens today. If I have to buy something, on the internet, I have to rely on, the Amazons and eBays of the world in order to purchase that. Even if I have to pay 10, 15, 20%, as a surcharge. Reason I do that because I do not, or I cannot trust anyone on the other side of the internet because I don't know who the person is. The framework of digital identity can actually fill that gap that I have with regards to the trust. That is the first thing. Less dependencies on e-commerce companies, direct interactions directly on internet, less surcharge, more benefits to the customer is something which I feel a very strong use case for blockchain with the digital identities. Okay, and you asked a bit about how these digital identities can be incorporated, which framework is suitable. So the one which is found to be most suitable, although all platforms claim that you can develop anything on blockchain, but Hyperledger Indy is one of the platforms that supposed that allows you to create a decentralized identities in a much more easier and a structured manner, because the framework itself is such that you can easily create those objects, and you can map their rights and authenticity. And so Indy is specifically created and meant for digital identities only. Okay, and then on top of that, if you want to, like for example, if you're using digital identities plus you are using it in an education sector, or you are using it in a e-commerce scenario, then probably you can have those transactions on Hyperledger Fabric or Ethereum, or whatever blockchain framework you want to integrate. But the concept of digital identity is primarily, or being developed across the world using Hyperledger Indy. Even the product that IBM has for digital identities is based on the Hyperledger Indy framework only. Okay.
So
and yes, that's sure.
Yeah, please.
Go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
No, so yeah, so this Hyperledger Indy, and along with the smart contract, where we can frame the rules that what data can be kept and what data can be shared at what point of time. Is another aspect where the smart contracts come into the picture, which we can write in any programming language of our choice. So basically Hyperledger comes with multiple SDKs. You can plug in any SDK. If you are a developer, you can learn it very easily, and you can write your smart contracts in Indy or Fabric, or Sawtooth, whatever framework you are using. So that's the way to basically control your smart contract accesses, the rights that you want to give, the data that you want to share. So those are all driven through the databases and the smart contracts within the blockchain framework.
Okay. So as we know that the advantage of using blockchain is to create trust and immutability of the transactions that happens. So how do we also ensure security is not compromised while we distribute or share the digital identities while transacting on a blockchain?
Yeah, the security is, so basically security is a two-way, there are two different mechanisms to maintain security within blockchain. One is this concept of PKI that you talked about, the public key, identities or encryption. So whenever you are sending a message on a blockchain based systems to your peers, okay, then you are actually encrypting it using the public private key asymmetric cryptography. So you generally encrypt it with the public key of the person that you intend to send, and only that particular person who owns the private key can decrypt and see the message. The others can see that this message is intended from A to B, but they cannot actually decrypt and use the data within that message. So that's the first level of encryption that you have, and that is the standard encryption that you will find across in the internet, which is working pretty fine from many years. Like all the layers that you see, SSL, TLS, even the HTTPS, all of them are using these public key encryption frameworks that is being there in the blockchain also. This is a proven method of securing the information, unless we move to the quantum age where this is hackable. Okay, so that is still sometimes to go. The another thing is that how you store your information, and how you allow that information not to be hacked by someone. So that is used by that is basically done by the use of hashes. Okay, hash is nothing but a digital signature of a data. The moment you store the digital signature and keep it as a part of a block and also as a part of the next block. So you basically combine all those transactions into a Merkle tree, create a single hash root of all the transactions. The moment someone tries to modify anything, you can immediately come to know. Similarly, the hash of the block is also kept in the next block. So whenever you do a change at any block, it is immediately caught. So the security is, I think, inherent within the way the blockchain technology is formed. The security aspect is inherent within it. And although there have been many security breaches in the blockchain also, but none has been done at the layer of ledger. Okay, most of the security breaches are at the application layer or smart contract layer, wallet layer, but still nobody is able to go into the Bitcoin and find out take a block out and modify anything. So it's highly secured.
Okay. Yeah. Now this leads to how do we ensure integrity is not compromised? Yeah, we talked about trust, we talked about security, and then we come down to the integrity part of it. How blockchain can help us to really ensure integrity of the transaction data and identities and will be sustained.
Yeah, so again the same thing, sir. So basically, whenever I am sending a message from one node to another, along with the cryptography, along with the PKI encryption, I am also sending my digital signature. So what my digital signature will have? My digital signature will have the hash of the message encrypted by my own private key. So later, when the message is received by the person who is using that particular message, I cannot say that I didn't send that message. That's not possible, because the digital signature of me can only be generated by myself. It involves the use of private key along with the hash of the data. So the integrity of the data is also managed using these same mechanisms. This encryption, public key encryption, hashing, and also the digital signatures, that also plays a pivot role. You cannot deny that you did this transaction. You cannot say that I sent $5, but the transaction shows $10. That's again not possible, because you can say that, okay, this was the transaction that was initiated. Everyone can see it on the ledger. If you go to Blockchain Explorer, you can see all the transactions that has been initiated. So the integrity is also uncompromisable as far as the blockchain is concerned.
Okay.
Of course,
yeah.
The only way you can compromise it, if your smart contract is not up to date, if your smart contract has some kind of leaks, then probably intentionally or unintentionally you can provide some data out out of your network. But if you look at the traditional models of how they work, it's very, very difficult.
No, in your view, what do you think SSI architecture and protocol will be more implementable in the current state of situation, Anuj?
Yeah, so I think, see, there is a regular innovation with regards to how you secure your transaction and, what are the new standards that are being developed. SSL is the current way in which, the majority of the internet transactions are happening. But the future transactions will be much more secure and quantum safe. There is a new term which is coming up is the quantum safe algorithm. Because, the moment you have a computing, that can break these public-private keys. The public-private key is nothing but, they are generated out of a multiplication of huge prime numbers. So the moment you have the systems which can calculate and, break these keys through entropy or, various other mechanisms, you will need to find a way, and you will need to enhance the blockchain also. Even the Bitcoins and Ethereums will need to upgrade themselves so that, they can securely do the transaction. So this is kind of an ongoing activity that will keep on happening as more and more security threats happen, as more and more processing power increases. I think these newer algorithms will continue to come.
Yeah, because our well-informed participants have brought to the notice that Ethereum and Bitcoin both had cyber attacks and they've been breached.
No, so as I told you, it has not been breached at the ledger level. There was a major cyber attack on Ethereum called as DAO attack. Okay, DAO was one of the main, one of the very interesting products of Ethereum, and it had a major attack, which lost millions of dollars, but it was at a smart contract level. So if a developer does some mistake, you are susceptible to a problem. But if you go to the underlying layer of blockchain, it is not possible that you can steal a transaction and you can move away with it. At least I have not noticed anything in my experience.
I think interesting. I think research and people are exploring. We can able to really take up the questions and then probably we will get back to them. Thank you very much. And Kamlesh, you have any remarks before we move on to the next point?
Yeah, so I think about that key algorithms development. So like in the hyperledger, there's a project hyperledger Ursa. So that project is building this PKI infrastructure and algorithms very securely and quantum safe. So and maybe even that algorithms are also very according to the geographies, because maybe suppose MD5 or SSA is not supported by the Chinese companies. So blockchain can be interoperable to use this different number of algorithms and even mature the algorithm for the better security.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. So now we request the participants to give their opinion on the poll question number 2. Dave, can we publish the poll question 2, please? Oh, okay. So majority of our participants do see the market definition of physical availability of the goods in stores might really change. It could be any any good which can be possible. I think this is a great but some do still really want to really see some time to really happen, but otherwise more than the majority have said yes. That's a good thing. Yeah. Okay, that brings us to the next point of our sub-theme today. Having seen the blockchain and the digital identities interspersing and which will facilitate the consumer consumption using the facilitation of the internet technologies, as I mentioned in the earlier. With the advent of Industry 4.0 and 5G coming into play, if not very soon, but very soon, how do we all really ensure that usage of internet and its governance? Because today I feel the users are ripe for exploration by the internet's dominance, because of the business models which are emerging using the internet, and people are able to create the trust in the platforms or ecosystems to transact. So my question to all the experts is, how do we ensure the governance of the internet itself is protected while we have the digital identities to increase the digital economy and create new value? I will start with maybe Fernando to just give his thoughts before he heads out to another meeting. Then I will take up the same with Anuj and Kamlesh. Yes, Fernando. Yeah, you are on mute.
Now, could you hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. In terms of the protection of data and blockchain here in United Kingdom, in United Kingdom and Europe, we have a standard which is GDPR. I mean, it has been implemented in Europe since, I think, 5 years ago. The problem is, GDPR, what tries to protect is the consumer or the individual use of the data by companies. No, but the problem we have now with blockchain is this GDPR regulation doesn't contemplate blockchain. No, I think if you are looking, if you try. I mean, the GDPR think in the system in a centralized system, no, in a centralized company that control the data, then control your data and we transact with your data. While blockchain is a decentralized tool. No, I mean you are taking a centralized regulation with a new tool that is completely decentralized. For example, the GDPR is concerned with limiting the access to the information. Blockchain is concerned with sharing information. Then the issue we have now at the moment here in Europe is that GDPR doesn't contemplate blockchain at the moment. No, I think they are exploring a new regulation here in the United Kingdom. We are now in the process to have a consultation about how we want to shape the new regulation. No, I mean the government has proposed a new document, and now they are in consultation. We from Big Innovation Center we will submit our part in the next months. Now, as mentioned, blockchain is not under the umbrella of GDPR, although it's compulsory to use GDPR. Then, at the moment, these new technologies create a new challenge with the regulation we have at the moment here.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it's a very, as we have seen in the European Union, GDPR is playing a regional centric viewpoint to protect the data within the boundaries and geographies. Likewise, I was being told even the US also, California state adheres quite stringent data privacy policies to have. I think Anuj, your point of view of how do we ensure the internet governance to sustain?
I think one of the good point about the blockchain networks is that it does not stop you to add auditors and regulators into the network. So if you have some binding conditions to verify, if you have some contracts that should run in a particular manner, you can always put some controls on top of it. That's possible. In Hyperledger Fabric, there is something called as ACL, which is access control list, that allows you to control the rights of an individuals on what transactions you can do. So the controls are possible, but yes, as Fernando said that moving from a centralized mechanism to a decentralized mechanism can actually make some people uncomfortable, especially the governments, sharing the information seamlessly with everyone. So currently, I think majority of the governments, what they are doing is they are trying to formalize a blockchain policy, and even India is doing that. I think Niti Aayog has already published a couple of reports. The government, in fact, today only there was an inauguration of STPI Center of Excellence, Blockchain Center of Excellence in Gurgaon. I think Kamlesh is part of it. So government is doing its bit to identify that what can be done using the blockchain technology. Digital identity, as far as I think, is within the purview of the government, because the day we announced this health card for all the Indians, and the day the Aadhaar card database was poised to be transferred to the blockchain ledger, I think these things basically show the intent of a government to move things very rapidly on a technical side, and especially adapting blockchain technologies in different identity-based frameworks. But yes, there are questions that are unanswered. There are questions that are being discussed within the policy framework of government. And yes, there is a serious concern that this can actually disrupt the way the governments operate today. So that is that kind of a concern is surely there.
Yeah, we understand. Yeah, Kamlesh, coming to you, you have been part of this Center of Excellence, and then which has been propagated. Now, government has some time ago launched and then advocating a DigiLocker.
Yeah.
we all the citizens of India can able to use the DigiLocker safely to securely to safeguard our artifacts to start with, which could lead to a kind of digital identity of individuals. So, how do you look at it? In continuation with what Anuj has said, how this will pan out?
Okay, so actually recently like government mandated to use DigiLocker for your every credential, whether it's a health data, your identity, your passport, and any kind of thing. So there is a India stake. Even they are also thinking and trying to adopt the blockchain layer on the top of that DigiLocker. So even my company is part of that STPI initiative, and we also have a credential identity-based platform for the educational credential. And with the Ministry of IT and Electronics, we are trying to integrate our product with the DigiLocker. We are in the discussion in the plan. So, and the motive of the joining this center of excellence to use the identity platform which my company have is called Snapshot, and which we create a separate product company called Credible Me with the kind of credible of the your identity or your data and record, and we are trying to integrate with the DigiLocker. So that is a front, and I think DigiLocker itself is mandated by government to use by the every university in every data platform.
Okay. So and very good. And so as we are discussing, time is coming up that blockchain will be looked at it, and digital identities will be managed. Now, okay, I will move on to some of the questions which have come. Any of you, both of you, can able to really take up. Are there any proof of concepts or real life size, life size examples for this particular topic of blockchain and digital identities, which are deployed anywhere in the globe, Anuj?
If you look at the IBM portfolio, they have a product called Digital Sovereign Identities, and they have clients across the world using that product for different purposes. Yes, there are live examples which are there. We talked about the traceability, so there is a product called Food Trust, by which you can trace different food items before you actually take them from any supermarket. So you can just put a scanner and see the complete provenance of any food product if you go to the Walmart store in US today. So yes, adaptability is there, and things are actually moving towards this digitalization in the times to come. As I said, tomorrow you will see that your Aadhaar card is totally digitalized on a blockchain ledger, so you don't need a physical copy. It will be on your mobile wallet, secured with you with your own possession. So we are going to see these implementations in the times to come. There are implementations that are coming up as well. I think Kamlesh can also give some examples from his experience. Kamlesh.
Yeah. So in a specific digital identity, there are various solutions. Recently, the Kiva, one platform from the South Africa, they added the citizen identity on the blockchain. And British Columbia, they have a Hyperledger Indy-based self-sovereign identity platform. They have millions of identity already issued on the platform. Even they bring the organization and entities to do their KYC on that kind of platform. And similarly, the Sovereign Foundation is a one foundation to the Sovereign Identity Foundation, where it will bring the customer on the self-sovereign identity, and Trust over IP Foundation by the Linux Foundation. So, and COVID Credential Initiative, where hundreds of different startups and companies are using the digital identity solution. Even the IBM have product verified.me, which is based on the Hyperledger Fabric, which is the digital identity solution. And I have a couple of solutions in the market, which is live in production.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Kamlesh, and thank you, Anuj. And before we, it's already we have surpassed the time. So I just want to really make an announcement on behalf of BIC India that all the participants are requested to avail your participation certificates on our knowledge exchange platform Pavilion, which is broadcasted and published. So all of you can able to secure your webinar participation certifications by the Pavilion application. I request all of you to make a credential and then obtain your certifications. I want to really thank all the participants who have shown continuous patronizing BIC monthly webinar series on blockchain. We hope that we have really bringing up concepts which are more relevant and recent to all of you. We would like to also have your views on what other topics that you would like us to really conduct. Apart from tech talk, we could able to really cover some, topics of domain specific. So we request all the participants also to pass on your thoughts. We will appreciate and we will cover as much as possible. I want to now thank Kamlesh, Anuj, and my colleague Fernando, having consented as like always to participate and give their expert knowledge on the blockchain as such. So I thank one and all. I also want to recognize the efforts taken by my team in conducting and organizing today's webinar. I thank you all, and we look forward to really have all of you again soon. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.